Welcome into another episode of Full Courtney Press. I'm your host, Courtney Mims, and once again, we have an awesome guest on the show breaking down some Razorback basketball with me today. That is the one, the only, you know him, you love him, Kevin McPherson, Hogville.net's own, and I feel like I should just call you Arkansas basketball extraordinaire because you're just all over the state, Kevin. It's not even just Razorbacks. You're here in the high school hoop scene. We saw you, at Hoops matchup, Hoop Showcase just last week, watching J.J. Andrews and the other awesome, talented guys that we have in the state of Arkansas. So I'm just going to call you Arkansas Hoops Extraordinaire as well. But how do you feel about that?
I love it, and I'm going to start when I'm drinking my tea. I'm going to lift a pinky finger now. I'm some kind of hoops extraordinaire royalty, so I need to act like it.
You are, right? AR Hoop Scoop. That's you have that title for a reason, and that's we appreciate you for coming on the show and bringing your knowledge for everybody who watches the show. And so today we're going to talk about that crazy thriller of a matchup that the Arkansas men's basketball team had just last night, beating Winthrop 84-83, squeaking out that 1-point victory. And I'll be honest with you, Kevin, there were times at this game when, Winthrop hits their 15th three-pointer that I just thought, absolutely not. Arkansas is not going to do this. They're just not going to find a way. But they proved me wrong. By golly, they did it. They found a way to win. I think if you look at the positives, we're going to go into the negatives. We're going to go on into the things that this team should work on. But when you look at the positives, Kevin, to me, finding a way to win that game was a positive. I know people aren't going to like that, but I think that does show the kind of will to win that this team has, and you want to see that in non-conference play.
I agree with you. I think that's the biggest takeaway here because Arkansas didn't need just one big play. They had to string together multiple possessions at both ends, down by 5. With just over a minute left, you got a defensive stop, then you were able to score, and you had an assist on that score. Arkansas did a lot of mano-a-mano hero ball last night, not a ton of assists. In those last 3 offensive possessions, each one of them had an assist that led to a basket. Arkansas was able to get in transition and not use a lot of clock to get those points. I mean, everything had to kind of fall in the right place. And then on the other end, you had to get stops for once. I mean, you mentioned the 15 made threes. Let's not forget, Winthrop was having its way getting to the basket as well and finishing around the basket. Arkansas had to get stops. So if you look at the last minute 26, Arkansas got 4 defensive stops, 3 buckets. All 3 were assisted on. All of them were points in the paint where Arkansas says, you know what? We're not going to use the formula we used at Michigan State where we're down late and we're hoisting threes. Stop us, we dare you. We're going to the basket, and we're going to get a little bit of that in transition. And so that 6-0 run wasn't just the points. It was the defensive effort, and it wasn't just your average run-of-the-mill, stops on defense. You had a block shot on the perimeter by Trevor Brazile, gathers the rebound, gets it to Acuff, who's Arkansas's best downhill transition finisher, in my opinion. Just A to Z, get downhill straight line, quick bucket. Malik Thomas coming on the weak side against the offensive player's vision on an entry pass, kind of mid-post area, and he gets a deflection, didn't immediately get the steal. He had to fight for that loose ball. He had to fight for it. He had to bump against other bodies and say, oh, next guy going to knock me around? Okay, that's fine. I'm going to get this. He gets possession, pushes in transition, hits Nick Pringle filling the right lane. Pringle with a spin move. Did you see that coming?
Oh, my gosh, no. That was crazy.
He goes spin move bucket. Oh, what? Arkansas's leading with 11.9 seconds? Bless my eyes. Did this play out just right? Look, Arkansas made its own luck at the end. This wasn't luck. It wasn't the other team choking. Arkansas went and made plays at both ends and shared the basketball when it mattered most. Some of the things, Trevor Brazile, Malik Thomas, we're going to get into all that. They were great, but a lot of that was just kind of 1-on-5 at times. And then they got hot. And so you're like, well, that's okay. But at the end, sometimes that will bite you.
Yeah.
Because there might be a better shot, and now you're in crunch time, and you got to score. So I think that was huge for Arkansas, the way they played everything on both ends at the end.
Yeah, and I'll even add to that, Kevin, because we'll talk about their defensive performance as a whole. But even at the end, on that last possession for Winthrop, I thought, okay, you got to lock him down now. I don't think you should foul. I think you just got to lock him down right now defensively. And that's what they did, play solid defense right there at the end. I was like, man, I didn't know if that would happen from what we had seen throughout the entire game. I just thought, all right, are they going to give up a bucket here? But no, they didn't. And it was really impressive to watch that at the end. However, we do have to talk about some things to get better on moving forward. And I seriously, Kevin, because I said after the game, because people were like, Courtney, a win is a win. Okay, a win is a win. I get a win as a win, guys. And I gave them love just at the start of the show. I said, if we talk about something positive, it's the will to win. However, I don't like that they were in that situation against Winthrop. And I'll give a lot of love to Winthrop. I will, because my dad coached there years ago. He's talked to me about the standard there, some of the guys he has coached there, and they get talent. It's not like
they do.
You can't just, I hate when people go, oh, Courtney, it's this team or it's this nobody. I get it. Just because they're not in the SEC or the ACC or a Power 4 conference does not mean that they don't have dudes on their basketball team, does not mean that they don't have shooters. So don't give me that. Yeah. However, I do not like that the same things keep showing up for this team, because Calipari walked into a press conference not too long ago and said, we gave up too many threes. We gave up way too many threes and let them stay in the game. We gave up way too many threes. And once again, this is happening. They gave up 15 threes. That is insane to me, Kevin. How does this team get better defensively moving forward? How do they get better defensively on the perimeter as well?
Yeah, it's a great question, because stats are sometimes funny. If you go back to the season opener, the regular season opener, you beat Southern 109-77. Southern hit a ton of threes, and that was a problem for Arkansas in that game. Fast forward from there to Michigan State and then UCA, those teams couldn't buy a bucket from three. Michigan State was smart enough not to take a bunch of them, played to their strengths, and that was a formula for winning. UCA, Arkansas eventually got over the hump, and that team took like 40-something threes and made only 4, didn't make 0 of 18 in the second half. You think, okay, the defense on the perimeter has gotten better. They're defending the 3 line. And I remember on one of my segments, I said, I'm not so sure about that, regardless of those stats and how great it looks, because there were a lot of wide open looks. And part of that is the plan on your defense is to give that up versus something else. But sometimes Arkansas players were slow to close, in the wrong position where they couldn't close, or nowhere near. They ran to the wrong spot altogether, and you just got lucky, and teams were cold. Now you look at Samford, also great night shooting from 3. And then last night, the creme de la creme, Arkansas's got problems inside and out, because Samford and Winthrop both did a good job with ball movement, and they were setting up their interior game. They were playing inside out. You gotta really be concerned about the outside, and they make enough good passes. When you do close, they make a good ball fake or a pass or one dribble to a spot where your defender can't recover to, and now they've got a numbers advantage, and they're getting some close-in looks. You saw Winthrop last night go to the low post game, and, with Trevor Brazile was your only big out there. That's not really his game, is defending down low with physicality. So teams right now are taking advantage of the Arkansas's problems, but perimeter defense, you said it, I think it is a major problem despite those 2 performances statistically against Michigan State and UCA. Everybody else so far has kind of been, these mid-majors really taking a bite out of Arkansas in the 3-point game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just baffling at times. And Cal's getting annoyed about it too. But there was late in that game last night, and I apologize if I can't remember the exact point that it happened, but I remember it happened late in the game last night when they shot their 14th or 15th three. I said, why are we leaving number 2 wide open? Why are we leaving number 2 wide open to take his 7th three? Because I'm going to tell you, if he has the shot, he's making it. He's making it. Right. It's like times like that where I'm going, who was supposed to be there? Who is backing off and going, let him take the shot? Guys, he's made 6 threes tonight. You don't think he's going to make his seventh? I'm going to take that gamble and say he is. And so it's things like that, Kevin, where it's kind of like, hey, what's the breakdown here? What's not clicking? In their minds when it comes to, okay, we have a team that's shooting the lights out from three, and we're going to back off one of the guys who's their best three-point shooter tonight, the hot hand. What are we doing here? And so I wonder, for you, you've seen a lot of games. You have. For you, is it just about getting in practice and saying, okay, we're going to focus primarily there on perimeter defense, or is it something else that's breaking down defensively?
Yeah, they're breaking down. I think the play you're talking about was Rozier.
Yes,
he ended up making 7 threes in this game, and you had a situation where he brought the ball up. He was going to use a screen, and you had the help or show defender, and you had the on-ball defender. Both of them vacated and bailed out into the paint and left a guy that's been killing you all night from three all by himself.
It was baffling.
And so I think it's a lack of communication. I think they're working on it. I think there are breakdowns in communication. I think the freshman guards, as talented as they are offensively, and you do see Malik Thomas make plays on defense, but he also is, both of them are out of position a lot, I'm not saying that they're not capable. I think it's more about they're still learning the nuances of what's expected, and they can work on it all day in practice, and they're still going to make some mistakes. You'd like to see them start cleaning it up, but it's not just those two. So Arkansas's got veterans that have returned on the perimeter that are out there. You know, the task is to guard, and they're also having some issues there. So I think there's breakdowns in communication, and I think there's still some chemistry issues with players still trying to get acclimated to each other. I think that's feeding into the communication breakdowns and just being at the wrong place. I mean, I'm seeing guys run to the wrong spot, and then they realize they did, but it's too late. This game moves too fast to sometimes recover. So you better be on point, because you're not going to be perfect anyway, but you better know the assignment. And right now, guys don't look like they know the assignment. And then Arkansas, there's lack of physicality on that front line. It's really glaring. And there are not a lot of options there because you only go 3 deep. So, there's inside and out. There's a lot of issues right now, Courtney.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the play of the bigs, and maybe we need to take a short break and get into that, because it's like I feel like I speak for everybody here when I want to see more from Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan, right? And Trevin Brazile at times, right? I mean, yes, he played well last night, but people's point, is he going to play the same way against Duke or Louisville coming up? I mean, let's be honest here. And so we'll get into that, but we're going to take a short break first, because I know we're going to go on maybe a bit more of a rant here. And it's not all doom and gloom, I promise. We're going to say nice things, I promise. But we expect a lot from this team. They're ranked for a reason. We expect a lot from this team. So, okay, we're going to take a short break. We're going to get back into it. We're going to talk about what's coming up for the Hogs here for the rest of November, which is kind of crazy to say. I mean, oh my gosh, we're almost at the end of November, and they've got a big matchup on the docket coming up. Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm talking about Duke. So we're going to get into that in just a second. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to another episode of Full Courtney Press. I'm your host, Courtney Mims. And if you didn't join us for the first half, what are you doing? Go back, watch that first half. Don't come in halfway through the episode and try and figure out what we're talking about here. We're talking about the Arkansas Razorbacks. If you are just joining us now, and I have my wonderful, amazing guest with me, Hogville.net's own Kevin McPherson, and I've dubbed him Arkansas basketball hoops expert. And I don't mean just Razorbacks. I mean the entire state of Arkansas. This man knows what's going on around the entire state. So, Kevin, we've been talking about some of the issues, and we spent a while talking about perimeter defense for this team. It has got to get better. You can't give up 15 threes at home. I get it. They managed to win the game, but they have got to get better, because teams are going to take advantage of them there if they shoot the lights out in Bud Walton Arena. I want to talk about something else that's concerning. You touched upon it before the break, but the play of the bigs has been a little bit concerning over these past few games. And really, I'm talking about, honestly, Nick Pringle. And I get it. He played a better last night. I will give him credit down the stretch there. He was integral down the stretch in making and making the comeback happen and pulling out the win. Yes, I will give him credit where credit is due. But I'm even looking at Malik Ewan's stat line. I mean, the guy only played he only played around 7 minutes, right? He 2 points, 3 rebounds, a block, and a turnover. That's it. That's the stat line there. We need to see more from him. And I even want to see a little bit more from Nick Pringle. I know he turned it on at the end of that game, and he was perfect from the floor. I get it, guys. Don't come for me here, okay?
Yeah.
I think we even saw in the last game and the previous one, we just want to see a little bit more from those guys, right? You agree with me there, Kevin?
Absolutely. I think, when you look at it, Malik Ewan is the biggest enigma so far. He just is not. He has not been what I thought he would be based on just statistically coming from Florida State. Between 7.5 and 8 rebounds per game and 26 minutes per game at Florida State. And he hasn't been on the glass. He's characterized as mostly an offensive player, not so much defense. I can live with that, but you're not getting a whole lot of offense from him either. He's not able to stay on the floor. And I just see I don't want to say lack of effort, but he is not. Does a lot of ball watching, flat-footed, not engaged. Does not like to be contacted. He does not want to dish any physicality out. And he started the game. He got an opportunity to start. He picked up 2 of the 3 rebounds kind of early, but then he gave up 2 offensive rebounds and was nowhere near challenging the putback shot. Not only did he get beat to the glass, he just kind of like, okay, you got it. Go ahead and get your layup now. We'll go the other way. No, you can't win like that. And so Malik Ewan right now, this is a guy that was going to be plugged in, if not as a day one starter, but still among your top rotation. You don't really have a choice because you don't have a lot of frontline depth right now. The only other choice is to trim down your rotation and not play him. And that's kind of what happened last night, only 7 minutes. So I'm being pretty harsh here across the board. He needs to be better. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the coaching staff's challenging him. They're trying to figure out ways to get him going. But to me, that's been the biggest disappointment so far on the front line. Nick Pringle is, to some degree, what he is. He's not a guy that you're going to run a ton of offense through, but man, was he big late, and he's a guy that you can utilize when you're getting downhill and attacking the rim, because as a ball handler creating your own shot, he's the perfect guy to dump the ball to because he won't back down from contact, especially late in the game where both teams are scrambling and trying to close it out. You're going to have more body contact and you might not get the whistle. Nick's the kind of guy that is going to bring that on and let me go to work. And the closer he gets to the rim, obviously, the more effective he is. But 13 points and made all of his field goal attempts, 7 rebounds. That was strong. A couple of blocks. Really good showing for him. A good positive box score there for Nick Pringle when you look at the end of this. But Trevor Brazile, 14 points, 5 of 6 from the field, made all 4 free throws, game high 8 rebounds, game high 4 blocks, game high 35 minutes, game high box score plus 10 in a game you only won by 1. He played more than anybody. He had better impact than anybody was on the court, and he was efficient throughout. And still, we can pick out things where players aren't perfect. And, Winthrop took advantage of him sometimes getting the ball to their bigs down low, and they just kind of bumped him out of the way and laid the ball in also. Yeah. It wasn't as much about lack of effort from TB. It's about what is the strength of his game. And so Arkansas's got holes on that front line. They need Pringle to stay out of foul trouble, give them 25 to 30 minutes. They need TB. 35 minutes is a lot for him, but it's better than nights where he's between 20 and 25, maybe not as effective as you need him to be. And they need Malik Ewan to wake up. Yeah. He's got to snap out of it. Yeah. He's been persona non grata. I hate to be that straightforward, but that's a fact.
And I agree with you, Kevin. And I didn't mean to hate on Nick at all. I really didn't, because that was a stark difference than his performance against Samford. And that's all I was saying. Yeah. I was saying, look, we need to see more from them. And I apologize for anyone who's like, Courtney was so mean about Nick Pringle. No, I love Nick.
You're right.
I love Nick.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
And I just want to say it was just a stark difference from what he did against Samford, where he did play, I want to say, like 18 minutes and didn't have a single point. didn't have a single point, and I feel like in terms of like he had one rebound, I think that was like his stat line was just appalling against Samford. And so that's all I was saying. We need a performance like that last night consistently from him. And for Trevin Brazile, I'm not hating on Trevin. You're exactly right. Last night was good. We need that consistently because my biggest question for him, Kevin, is, hey, I'm loving what you're doing. But that's against Winthrop. I want to see that against a Duke, a Louisville, any SEC competition as well. You can't just fade into the background because if Malik Ewan's not going to wake up and Nick Pringle has a game like he has against Samford, they have no interior presence. It's just, who is that guy? Billy Richmond can try, Isaiah Seeley's a dog. He can try, but you need your big men. You really do. And so that's all I'm saying. Not to get on a tangent or anything. And
no, but it was a fair assessment you made. I think it was a fair assessment. Honestly, we can go around the block. You mentioned you showing up against the bigger opponents. I mean, let's not forget Arkansas's played Michigan State, a chance to win, but some of Arkansas's most, when you look at their retention and how they finished the year last year, some of those guys just had an off night. TV, Carter Knox. And so you're trying to use these games to get everybody consistently producing, making that positive impact, all these things, and it's still kind of backfiring at times, hit and miss. And so I think it's fair to say we need more, even when you can point out the positives.
Yes.
You can also point to where it's not been consistently positive, and you want that stuff to start to, even though it's early in the year, and you could point around college basketball and say, well, aren't all teams adjusting? That's true to some degree, but we talked so much about the retention and how Arkansas leads the SEC and key players and production and scoring. And then you didn't get just two bigs out of the portal. You got two veteran guys that have been around the block. So you're thinking, where's the beef? Yeah. Where's some of the, where's the consistency here? And it's just, I think based on expectations, we're probably noticing it even more. It's a little more proliferated based on that.
Yeah, and I think I think that's a fair assessment too. I just don't want, I think a lot of people take it as negative that we're being negative, and I think it's because of expectations, right? You go into this year and you look at the talent. They have talented players. They do. They really are one of the most talented rosters in the entire country. But when they don't perform the way we know they can, and I know this is the same with the coaching staff, they get annoyed. They're like, we know you guys can do this. We know. We believe in y'all. Yeah. And I get it. There's going to be some bumps in the road. You just can't have these bumps in the road with the schedule you have about to come up. And so very quickly, Kevin, I just want to, because we only have a few minutes left, and I know people, we did tease that I was going to talk about what's coming up. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time this Friday. They have Jackson State coming up at Bud Walton Arena. I hope the crowd shows up for it. I'm looking at you guys. If you need me to get rid of your tickets, I can do that. I have people asking me, Give me tickets, okay? So give me your tickets. I will distribute them to Hog fans who can go. That's what I will say about that game. But then, Kevin, they have a game coming up in Chicago that a lot of eyes are going to be on. I know people from around the country who are not even a fan of the Razorbacks who are like, "Ooh, I cannot wait to see John Calipari and his squad go up against Duke on Thanksgiving Day." It scares me only because I watched Duke after Arkansas was done. I switched over to that Duke and Kansas game, and I was like, "Man, I know this. Duke looks really good," and it just scares me a little bit of the weapons that they have this year and how good that they're looking. I mean, what does Arkansas need to do in order to compete with a team like Duke on Thanksgiving? I mean, I feel like Arkansas can compete with them. I know that's a little crazy, but I do feel like if you have guys who are having their best night, you're going to compete with them. Just in your opinion, Kevin, what do you think?
Well, I think Duke can play multiple styles. They can grind. They're physical. They can play a physical slowdown brand. They can push pace and tempo. So it's you say matchups are about styles. Duke is constructed so well. They can play any way that you can play. And I think Arkansas right now is still figuring things out. We didn't mention Malik Thomas in the career high 26 points last night.
Sorry, Malik. We love you. We love you, Malik Thomas.
but this is part of what we're talking about. Darius Acuff, who's been leading the team in scoring at nearly 20 a game, not his night, scoring the ball as much, but still led the team with 5 assists. I mean, the freshmen they're not afraid to take shots, but they're also your best shot creators. And I think against a team like Duke, you're going to need more than 2 true freshmen who are really good to figure some things out and get more consistency from. That's why we're looking at these games now going, where, there's a lot of questions starting to mount, and you don't want there to be mounting questions. You want there to be mounting answers as you get ready to take on Duke in just barely over a week. And so right now, your 2 true freshmen are the guys, if you're going into that matchup going, well, on the offensive end, who can I count on, whether it's a close game or whether it's up-tempo, whatever. These 2 are the top 2. And I think we need more Carter Knox, a little more aggressive offensively in a good way, not in ways where he's forcing too much. At times, I think he's pressing. Trevor Brazil's been very aggressive with his drives and getting the scoring angles, and I like to see that. I just want to continue to see more of that. But one of those other 2 bigs is going to have a big game against Duke.
I know.
I mean, a Nick Pringle, a Malik Ewan, and hey, how about both? How about all 3 of them?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Welcome to college basketball, Cam Boozer. How do you do? We're all here. I mean, Arkansas really needs more than just the 2 true freshmen being fearless.
Yeah.
And I see guys, again, I think Brazil has been aggressive. I think he's been pleasantly aggressive. I think the Michigan State game, it didn't work for him, but I think in maybe by the time Arkansas gets to Duke, he'll be – I mean, when Arkansas beat Duke in the ACC-SEC Challenge 2 years ago or 3 years ago, however long that's been, in Fayetteville, Brazil – off year for him, but he had a big double-double in that win.
Yeah.
And so
he turned it on when they needed it.
Brazil sees a Duke Blue Devil jersey. That needs to just, he needs to immediately trip back into that. Hey, I'm a double-double against these dudes. Watch it happen again. Watch me go do that again. Arkansas I'm not saying Arkansas needs to play its best game and Duke has to be completely off for Arkansas to win. I'm not saying it's that much of a lopsided thing, but Duke, again, what I've seen is a very versatile team that can play multiple ways, and I'm not sure what way Arkansas thrives in, other than what I do know is they got to play with better physicality. They're going to have to do a better job defensively inside and out, and a lot of that's been communication breakdowns. And then on offense, I think attacking, getting those paint touches, attacking the rim, trying to draw free throw attempts, and not settle for threes. It's sometimes easy to do. And even when you start off well, it came back to bite Arkansas against Michigan State in that second half. So I just think, there's a lot that Arkansas needs to do. And in some ways it does start with those 2 true freshmen, though, because they are your best shot creators. And so you're going to be counting on them to a great degree. Are they ready?
That's a good point, too. I mean, and I'm not saying – I don't think Malik or Darius have a freshman mentality about them, but sometimes when you face tough competition and you face a team like Duke and a blue blood and you're like, ooh, it's Duke, hopefully that doesn't get in their head at all, because I want to see the same fearless attitude against all of these other teams. And I don't think it'll get in their head, because I think even when they went up to Michigan State, I was kind of watching for that. And I was like, no, they're still playing fearless. They're still playing like they've been playing. The one thing I will say, and you hit the nail on the head there, Kevin, and I just want to harp on it, because like I said before, I'm not trying to say that it's going to be a lopsided, that Arkansas can't compete with them at all. I think you're exactly right there. But the thing that I love about this Duke team is that right now, so early on in the season, they play so together. And like you said, they just look, they have just such this chemistry on the court that it's like, have these guys been playing together a lot? Like this, this feels very good. Like this is a really solid basketball team when it comes to what they've been able to do in such a short amount of time. And so to me, that's where I get nervous, because like you just said, Arkansas still figuring some things out, and it looks like Duke has a lot figured out. And so that, to me, scares me just a little bit with that matchup there. But we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Arkansas goes and proves me wrong, and maybe they just blow out Duke. I don't know. Maybe like you said, Nick Pringle, Malik Ewan, Trevin Brazil will have their career games, and it'll just be great. and it will be on here and I'll go, hey, I really didn't expect that to happen. So maybe that will happen. Who knows? But we'll see. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me. As always, appreciate all of your insight into what's going on with Razorback basketball, and I'm sure we'll catch up on with you very, very soon. So that's going to do it for another episode of Full Court Press. We'll see you next time.